Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. Today, we're going to go in more detail about my Digimon stats tool and talk a little bit about why I made it, what it does, functionality, all that good stuff. So, if you're here, it's because you're probably into the nerdy stuff, probably more so than talking about Digimon cards, because I did that in the Ukomon video, and I'll probably do that in future videos. So, starting with the data, this comes from a source I'll put in the description down below. It's an incomplete data set. We are missing lots of local and casual data, but the goal was to use a web scraper to take tournament results, aggregate them into some data files, and then read from those data files and generate some meaningful information out of them. I did this because I am in a data statistics, data analytics course for my degree. I am graduating this year, and I thought this would be a good portfolio item to have to show to potential employers that I am still a monkey, but a monkey that is capable of learning when given resources. I did use plenty of ChatGPT for this. It was a lot of asking ChatGPT how to do something, pasting it into Python, troubleshooting, and then going, why doesn't this work? Asking ChatGPT again, realizing ChatGPT is really, really dumb, doesn't iterate variables properly, and then fixing it myself. So, aside from that, what's the functionality here? Oh, also disclaimer, if you work for a company that wants to hire me, I have my business email on my YouTube. Send me an email. Or if you want to work together on a project similar to this, maybe a one-piece scraper or some other card game statistics information, hit me up in my email. I need work. Anyways, so what we have generated here is our top 25 most played cards. I know you can see the most used card in the middle. It is not centered. Well, it is centered. It's not supposed to be centered. It's supposed to be on the left-hand side here. That's what these top 25 most used cards are. And you can see it's about what you would expect. Interestingly, BT12 Vmon is the third most played card in all of Digimon. And then, we got Analog Youth, which is also not surprising. I'm not surprised to see any of the boosts, any of the trainings in here. BT14 Koromon makes sense. The generic draw egg. Digimon Emperor, pretty cool. Counters Ukomon, which is our most two-play cards. Monzemon X, Monzemon, Garamon, Numemon. These are all from the BT15 meta existing. And then some other blue stuff basically fills out the bottom half of that. But what we have, importantly, are filters. We can filter this information to find out what we want to find out. This is currently top 25 most played cards across all colors. I made functionality so that we can filter this by color. So we can see our top 25 most used red cards. Oh, and you'll notice that when you change your filters, the auto-populated image and graphs also change. So this brings up our most used red card of all time. Who would have guessed it's Koromon? And then you have some heavy hitters following it up. Crimson Blaze, Agumon X, Takuyamon, Flamemon, Red Boost, all these things. It is mostly Greymon Tribal, Hybrid Tribal, and then your red utility cards like Koromon, Crimson Blaze. I believe Gravity Crush? Yeah, Gravity Crush is all the way on the bottom there at 243, etc., etc. We can look at Yellow. I think Yellow is equally not surprising. Yep, there's Monzemon X. Patamon caught me off guard, but it was restricted to 1, and this is a card that you really probably don't even bother to play at 1. Heaven's Judgment, definitely up there. The TKs are up there. Again, those got restricted. Venusmon, a little bit lower than I would have expected, but the Numemon statistics really, really just crushed this list. And then you have Green. I think Green is the saddest one. It's mostly Imperial Dramon cards. We got Blue. I'm just showing them all for posterity's sake. Purple. Purple's cool. Wisdom Training, Lugamon, AG, Baumon, Leviamon. You can see that it is actually mostly just Lugamon, Leviamon stuff. And then you have the random Rivals Barrage in there, probably because of Beelzemon. And then your 7 Great Demon Lord stuff. So that's pretty cool. We'll go through black and then white. Garamon. Woo! We love Garamon. Nume X, Sunomon, Numemon, Satsuki. Wow, who would have guessed the entire Numemon deck list is our most played black cards? Kind of really sad if you think about it. Other cards have archetypes that fill out these categories. Black does not. And then we have white. Ukomon, Analog, Emperor, X-Antibody, Protoform. Ooh, maybe something we'll talk about someday at some point. And then other things like that. So, very cool. You can filter by this. And then you can filter by regionals and unofficial tournaments. What does unofficial tournaments mean? I can hear you asking that in your head with my telepathic Digimon powers. That means things like Eagle X online tournaments, and I don't even remember what other tournaments fall in that category, but it's just listed as the locals category in my data set. So if we filter by unofficial tournaments, we can see that these numbers change. That is because the unofficial tournament data set is incomplete, and obviously the same cards don't get played at locals that get played at competitive events. So we can see we still have Ukomon, Analog Youth, and we see that the promo Ukomon drops quite a bit in usage in unofficial tournaments, which is kind of surprising. And then we can filter by regionals information only. We see promo Ukomon becomes the most played card, and then we have Ukomon Blue Boast. This basically follows very similar structure to our all category, aside from the promo Ukomon being on top. Now, on top of this regionals filter, we can filter by color if we want. Let's say I want the best white cards in regionals. Well, there's all your best white cards from regionals. Very cool. What about yellow? What was played in yellow regionals? A lot of Monzemon, Patamon, and stuff like that. Okay. So let's take this color filter off. We're going to stay within regionals. Oh, we have formats. Let's look at Blast Days. That's a blast to the past, isn't it? The most played card in Blast Days was Commandramon in regionals. Isn't that crazy? Now, this does also not take into account past formats within leading up to BT14, if that makes sense. This is exclusive to the format. So within just the BT14 format, these were the most played cards. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can filter by color, so we could look at white. Look at that. Not many white cards played in BT14 Blast Days, but we do have that promo Ukomon sitting right there, and the Analog Youth. And then we can also see, you can see what I mean by this being an incomplete data set. Look at that, there's no information for BT14 Blast Days. That's because we don't have any tournaments. I believe they start at Exceed Apocalypse. So once you get to BT15, that's where your data starts for there. Moving on from our filters, we can in fact search for cards. We can search Gravity Crush, and what this does is this is going to ignore all of your filter parameters. You can think of everything on the left as a separate item from these graphs and these charts and everything. When you search a card, it's going to generate these graphs, generate these usage statistics on the bottom left there, bring up an image of the card you're looking at, and then give you like a total quantity. This is just the number of card played. We'll go over the graphs briefly. They are kind of explained in the Ukomon video, but you do have two side-by-side graphs for your overall usage and your competitive usage. This just goes off of the total number of a card run within a format. So BT15 was peak Gravity Crush. This is because Red Hybrid was going nuts with the Grav Crush tech. And we don't, in its current form, the overall usage over time is not the most useful statistic because our casual representation is not fantastic. The farther on we go with the population of this data set, the more useful this will be because the numbers won't be quite as inflated due to missing deck lists from pre-BT15. But for now, I feel like it's a little bit too inflated to be necessarily useful, again, with that disclaimer, but I have to say it's because I am obligated to do so. We have deck representation by format. This is the total number of decks within a format that have the card in it at any number of copies. So BT15, there were roughly 40 decks that contained Gravity Crush within the format. And then we have competitive representation as a percentage and unofficial representation as a percentage. This is the percentage of decks within the format that ran a specific card, because this gives you a actual reference for how popular the card was. You can see a certain number of decks were run, but if you don't know how many decks were run in a format total, you don't know proportionally how relevant the card was. So this last graph is made to contextualize that information to let you know whether the card was showing up a lot or not. So like in, well, I guess surprisingly, EX4 had the highest representation for Gravity Crush with a 25% representation, contrary to its usage. Well, I guess that's the second dip on the competitive usage over time graph, but that's pretty cool, isn't it? That's what the stats tool is for. You find interesting information like that. And then the generated stats on the bottom right there, we have competitive copies run. That's all the total number of copies run throughout regionals in our data set. Casual copies is the total number of copies run through locals. Again, that's going to be skewed a little bit. Overall competitive representation, that is the total number of decks across all formats in regionals, divided by the total number of decks within regionals multiplied by 100 gives us a percentage of the number of decks that this showed up in. So this is in 5% of decks across regionals. Casual representation, same thing for the locals tournaments. Again, inflated number should probably be lower. And then overall representation will also be inflated because it is the number of casual plus the number of competitive added together divided by the total number of decks. So it's going to be higher than it should be. So that's kind of the nitty gritty on this tournament, or Digimon stats tool. I'm calling it the TDS stats tool. You can see in the corner there. And I guess the last thing to talk about is the release of this tool. Currently, the answer is I don't know. I was thinking about making this available to my channel members. I am worried about something like unauthorized distribution. I spent time and effort to make this. As it stands right now, this is kind of mine to use for content. It would suck to see this be something where people just take it, make content on it, don't credit me for it, and then this is kind of a waste of my time. So it's either going to be something where my channel members get access to it. Maybe I'll do some kind of built-in subscription model so that if you pirate this, you wouldn't have access to it. Or it might just be a direct sale thing where you pay money and you get the software. But that will be made known when the software is complete. It still needs to be packaged into an exe. It needs an updating feature because right now I have to run a whole script to re-download the entire database every time I want to update my data, which obviously if some schmuck on his Windows Vista computer is trying to run this, he can't update his database for, what does it take me, like an hour and a half? It needs to be streamlined, and that means figuring out how to update this database without web scraping all of the data entries that exist on the website every time I want to update it. So I got to figure that out. Again, package this. There's also bugs that I got to work out. Like if we go to EX1, literally if you click any EX1 card, I don't know why, but I'll find out why, the image does not update. These graphs are accurate, image not accurate. So I got to figure out what's going on with that. And this is just EX1. Like if I go through EX4, it works fine. So I'll figure that out. But yeah, that's the nitty gritty, short and skinny on my data tool. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you're a company, I did this as a portfolio item. So if you, by some miracle, work at a company that's looking for some kind of junior programmer, you want to take the time to turn me into a programming whiz, hey, hit me up in my email. Give me job, please. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I do. There will be hopefully tons of videos coming out where we look at some Digimon stats, maybe some Digimon history, look at competitive metas over the years. But I think I've rambled long enough. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Thank you to our YouTube members for supporting this channel. It's people like Langlong and Big Z11 who make videos like this possible.